You're making yourself a poppy show. You're making yourself a bloody clown.
Good afternoon from Mickey and from me. Well, I have had a very eventful and agreeable experience very, very recently, because I was a guest of honour at a St. George's Day luncheon for a very worthy cause. And it was a ladies' luncheon, and there was a corresponding gentlemen's luncheon elsewhere. Lovely, lovely women. Everybody couldn't have been nicer. The food was delicious. And we not only had the national anthem, but we had Land of Hope and Glory as well. Really wonderful, wonderful moment. So, on the strength of that, Mickey and I are going to plunge right in with something a Commonwealth monarchist says. Lady C, as a Jamaican, what do you make of the reception the Wessexes have received in St. Lucia, demanding a republic, apology from the Queen for slavery? Surely the Jubilee tour was meant to be a celebration of the links between the Queen and her realms, not an opportunity for Queen bashing. Some of your questions are just such a joy and such a delight. So on point, I have to say, we do have the most intelligent viewers on YouTube, that's for sure. Yes, I couldn't agree more. It was supposed to be a celebration of the links between the Queen and her realms, and it was not supposed to be an opportunity for Queen bashing, but it has turned into one. Now, there has been a growing Republican movement in the West Indies for some time. And also, there have been elements of it in Australia and New Zealand as well. All of this is tied in with socio-economic and racial issues that still need to work their way through the societies into something less emotive, more realistic, and less politically appealing. The politicians, often on both sides of the political divide, tell the people what they think the people want to hear. There's very little room for tradition or moderation, because we live in an age where tradition is viewed as undesirable, and change, irrespective of how chaotic and destructive it proves to be, is viewed as a desirable entity. Personally, I think it's only a matter of time before all of those realms become republics. And you know, it's just bad manners to have politicians who are playing host actually insult their guests. I mean, they knew that this was supposed to be a celebration of the Queen's 70 years on the throne. They didn't have to do it, but they've done it. And it's all started gratis Harry and Meghan's comments about a member of the British royal family making racist comments. and playing the race card, not only against his family, but against the British nation generally. There is a tremendous amount of ignorance and emotiveness that is factored into many of these viewpoints that are espoused. I mean, am I asking the black race to apologize to me because a black man killed my grandfather? Well, if I'm not doing that, why would they expect that I and every other taxpayer in this country should pay for something that our ancestors did or didn't do to their ancestors? I think the whole thing is, dirty washing that ultimately needs clean water. And the sooner the better, because the politicians aren't helping the people. And if we are going to have republics, let's just get on with the business of having republics and let them join their own legal systems. And let's see if they're not going to end up as corrupt as everything else has ended up being. Because I'm here to tell you the corruption in many of those countries is beyond belief. Not all of them, but many of them. Francesca Rowe says, Harry and his wife make you feel dirty with their nasty comments and behaviour. There are no circumstances in which they should be allowed on the balcony during the Queen's Jubilee. Do I agree? Yes, I agree. Until such time as Harry and Meghan understand the principle of contrition and making amends to those they have deliberately, willfully, and maliciously offended, namely the British people. I don't care what they do privately and how they deal with matters privately, but we are dealing with a state, and the citizens of the state have a right to make their sentiments absolutely clear. And they have made their sentiments clear. They don't want Harry and Meghan to partake of any of the official celebrations surrounding our Queen's Jubilee. We have the right to an opinion, and our opinion is no thank you. We don't want them anywhere near anything to do with us until such time, and now I'm only speaking for myself and for no one else, and it will be up to everybody else to say whether they agree or not, that they make amends, display contrition, withdraw their damnable lies about the reception that she was given and about the way she was treated by the British people. And until such time as they do that, they are persona non grata. And yes, they defile us. They do make people feel dirty. Of course they're going to make people feel dirty. Their comments and their accusations are nasty. They're filthy. You can't feel clean in a sewer. And I am afraid that they hose us down with filth. Richie Rich says, Dear Lady C, do you think it's possible for Harry to believe it if someone informs him of Meghan's lies about her father? Because from the Oprah interview, Harry knows when Meghan is lying, but wouldn't dare call her out. I have no idea whether Harry believes what Meghan has told him about her father. I know what I was told by an emissary of Harry's, and I know it's a lie. If I know it's a lie, and I have had access to far less information than Harry, he should know how much bigger a lie it is than I know. Unless Harry seems to think that Meghan's backstory until she met him was a total fabrication. She had a good father, she loved her father, he was a wonderful man, he educated her. As she put it, her parents came from very little and gave a very great deal, not only to her, but also to strangers. I mean, you can almost take out the violins and hear the angels in their celestial approbations. Then, all of a sudden, she is a deprived creature who had to work her way through school, hold down a whole load of jobs, get grants, blah-de-blah-de-blah. All lies, all lies. But the worst of them is what Harry's emissary told me at, according to them, his behest about what Meghan said about her father. That is, under any circumstance, insupportable. Can he truly believe it? Well, you know, some people, let me rephrase it. Some people are, I was going to say, some people are so in love with someone else, but they're not so in love. They are hooked on someone else, the way a heroin addict is hooked on heroin. They don't care who or what they step over to get their fix. That is one possible explanation, that he knows that it's a lie. And he doesn't care that it's a lie, because the substance to which he is addicted is an individual, and it doesn't matter whether that individual is good, bad, or indifferent. That is his fix. When you are an addict, you have no morality in terms of your addiction. It is totally amoral. This is one of the phenomena surrounding addiction. In AA, they used to say, never stand between an alcoholic and his bottle. Well, don't stand between an addict and the entity to which he or she is addicted. Because the most important thing is to receive the fix of the substance or the entity to which the addict is addicted. It is quite possible. In fact, I would have thought he would really have to be a heck of a lot dumber than anybody could ever give him credit for being to believe the cock and bull stories that she has told him about her upbringing and her father. So if he willfully chooses to suspend disbelief, he is complicit in the amorality. He is complicit, and he may be not equally accountable, but he is also accountable. And I made it clear in my book that I was beyond appalled that any human being could convey a message of the kind that was conveyed to me. There's a 4-letter word. It begins with E. And that's what I thought then, and I think it now. Diane Martinez says, Lady C, as a parent of an adult child, I can tell you that my heart would break into a million pieces if my child did anything like that horrid megalaya. So would mine. So would mine. I saw my grandmother struggle to accept the enormity of how dreadful her daughter was. And she never really did accept it. I can only wish Thomas Markle well. That's all I can say. I wish him well. I believe the truth sets you free. I remember saying to my grandmother in 1971 that Mummy was an alcoholic. Oh, no. Oh, no. She simply drinks too much. And to go back to the previous question and show you the hoops which people will jump through to prevent themselves coming to the conclusion that the facts are leading them towards. When Mummy tried to burn me on my face in 1972, my grandmother never once disbelieved that Mummy had done it. Never once. But she couldn't add up the fact that her daughter had tried to disfigure her granddaughter. She just didn't want to add up the figures. Now, I'm not saying that I held it against her, because I loved my grandmother and I never held it against her. And each of us has to cope with pain and disappointment and distress in our own way. My way of coping has been to confront the reality wherever possible and to call a spade and not to pretend that it's the Club of Hearts, if there were such a thing, which of course there isn't. But one impossibility is rarely the equal of another, because if your daughter has tried to burn your granddaughter on her face with a lighted cigarette and you know it, and you're not prepared to condemn your daughter for being destructive and really pretty evil. And you're not prepared to add up what's going on. And you're prepared to fudge the issue. But maybe my grandmother was a better person than I am. But life has taught me, if it looks like a donkey, if it brays like a donkey, if it does everything else like a donkey, it's not a thoroughbred racehorse. Pam Ostman says, thank you for your kind words towards Thomas Markle, who is only guilty of being a working man who did the best he could for his children. He is doing interviews with P. Dina, and it is clear he is finally grasping the concept that his daughter is not who he always saw her to be, but is a very flawed individual who he still loves but doesn't understand any longer. It is truly heartbreaking. I think it would be lovely if you could invite him to the castle and interview him yourself. As you said, he deserves respect. Thank you for showing the Whoppies, as I know two will be leaving soon and it is such a joy to see them. I think we'll show them at least once more before they go. They are getting so big and are such fluff balls. I have a ruby-coloured female who will be 2 next month and I adore her. You looked lovely in today's episode with the brooch on the red scarf. You are a treasure and I look forward to your videos. Thank you very much. I did look at the P. Dina interviews with Thomas Markle. I've looked at both of them. And I think they're very well done, and I think they're well worth seeing. And it confirms my belief that Thomas Markle is a thoroughly decent man. And yes, I see the struggle he is having, and I consider that there are parallels between his struggle and the struggle my grandmother had to accept what my mother was. She never did. I think the truth sets you free, and I would hope that down the line, Mr. Markle will, without being shoved in that direction by anyone, embrace the reality, because until he does, he will always be perplexed. And Meghan's personality types create a great deal of confusion and perplexity for those who are emotionally involved with them. But you know, if you're aiming to get to Brighton from Castle Goring, don't head in another direction. I'd put it like that. And as for asking him to the castle and interviewing him myself, I would be delighted to receive Mr. Markle. I'm not sure that it would necessarily be in his interest to be interviewed by me, and I would not wish to capitalize upon his presence should he ever come here as my guest. Let me put it that way, because I think Mr. Markle deserves to be treated with all the respect that is due to a King Lear. Dor Bew says, the royal family should do the right thing and invite Thomas Markle for tea. That's all that is needed, that he is being recognised as the father of the bride, which he was. debut, I think that it would be a very nice gesture if he were received by someone in the family in a private capacity, with no press there, but that it be done in a private capacity, because he doesn't have an official function. He's simply the father of a bride. And then a photograph could be published of it, just stating that he had been received. I think honour would be served all around. Of course, that would be incendiary where Harry and Meghan are concerned. And maybe, from the family's point of view, it would not be advisable to provoke them into greater heights and depths of destructiveness. It's a finely balanced one, but let us see what happens when Mr. Markle comes here. Kate Sleuth says, I wonder if that's a nom de plume. If it's not, it's a fantastic name. Hello, I'm Kate Sleuth. I love it. A few tidbits from Thomas Markle recently. He asked Meghan if he was going to receive a wedding invitation and asked where it was. Meghan replied that it must have gotten lost in the post. The oldest trick in the book, isn't it? Like the cheque that got lost in the post. The sort of thing that con artists always say, the sort of excuse they lurk behind. Not even hide behind, lurk behind. Doria was given 2 security men to guard her in Los Angeles after Meghalaya became engaged. Thomas received none. The press hung around his house for 24 hours a day. Yes, Thomas Markle was exposed to the most tremendous pressure with no protection whatsoever. And I seem to recall that in my book I stated that my understanding was that Harry and Meghan were offered for both her parents, and Meghan opted for only her mother. It is my belief that Meghan never wanted her father here. And this I do remember saying in the book, because Mr. Markle is an honest, straightforward, and as far as Meghan was concerned, too garrulous an individual to have around her, because he would expose her for being the liar and the fraud that she was. Because Meghan got Harry by pretending to be Boadicea. And she has pretended to have all these struggles and all these challenges which she has all womanfully surmounted, because she is a brave heroine. And she deserves admiration and respect and her age. Look at what I've done for myself. Look at how I conquered all that adversity. Follow my lead and I'll make sure that you conquer all your demons and all your challenges as well. And my goodness, hasn't she been leading him by the nose, as Mr. Trump would put it? although I seem to remember that nose is a four-letter word, but doesn't begin with C, and certainly doesn't end with K. Mickey, catch that rooster, it's flying. I think Meghan set her father up in the most appalling way, because she never wanted him around, because she knew he is too honest and straightforward, and he would have given the game away. And that's why she needed to manipulate and maneuver. And she needed to do it in such a way that ultimately she could say he had done her wrong. Gonorrhegan. The ideal combination of the two thankless daughters from Shakespeare's King Lear, gonorrhea and Regan. And if gonorrhegan sounds like an awfully disgusting disease, I suspect there's a good reason why. The cap fits, my dear. She should wear it. Sand Medna says, Lady C, I rarely disagree with you. However, as for the comments on Mr. Markle, I personally feel this family is full of drama. I feel they are milking the cow. I feel the royal family should stay away from all this drama. Who, thanks to Harry, has brought into their lives? Just my opinion, with all due respect. With all due respect, Sand Medna, I don't agree with you. Harry is a drama queen. His mother was a drama queen. Meghan is an empress of drama. Meghan is the one who disrespected the whole of her family. She humiliated the whole of her family in front of the eyes of the world. It's not drama for a family to try to preserve themselves from humiliation by speaking the truth. Prince Philip knew this and understood this, and Prince Philip was dead against what was happening, because a similar thing had happened with his sisters. Prince Philip was not allowed to ask his sisters to his wedding, and there are letters that they wrote about the embarrassment and the humiliation because they had done nothing wrong. Of course, they were princesses, born and bred and impeccably behaved. And they did not go public with it. But the press approached Samantha Markle, Thomas Markle Jr. The press hounded the whole of the Markle family. Then, when the Markle family, having to explain away the embarrassment and the humiliation, and quite frankly, the disgraceful way in which they had been treated by Meghan. Because, I mean, who in their right or wrong mind, with a heart and a soul, would fail to invite all of her family to a wedding, with one notable exception, because her father never ever received an invitation? Very funny that. If it was sent, it wouldn't have got lost in the post. Take it from me. He was never sent an invitation. Can you put yourself in the shoes of the Markle family? The tremendous hounding that they are all subjected to by the tabloids over a period of 18 months or however long it was. And they were silent until they realized they were not being invited, at which point they had to come up with explanations. And they came up with the truth. We thought, me included, I have to tell you, I also thought that it was untoward of them, Thomas Jr. and Samantha, really, to have said the things they said, because I didn't know what was going on, just as how clearly you don't know what's going on. Because once you know what went on, you cannot condemn the Markle family for trying to at least protect themselves against the savage, and it was savage, abuse to which Meghan deliberately exposed them, knowing that the press would have a field day at their expense. The drama has been caused entirely by Meghan, and I do not condemn anybody who has been dragged into the public eye by a cheap, vulgar hustler of the ilk of Meghan Markle, and who then decide that they are going to try to retrieve some semblance of self-respect and some semblance of respect from the public by handling it as best as they can. I cut them a lot of slack for any mistakes they made now. I cut her none. Why? Because she's the one who had the cards in her hand. She's the one who dealt a crooked deck of hand to everybody else. I'm sorry. She's the card shark. She's the one who deserves condemnation. I mean, can you imagine how they have felt? And as I said, I don't necessarily agree with everything they have said or done, but I certainly would say that they have been provoked and that they therefore are the ones who deserve any slack that we're going to cut anybody. And it's really simple. All this can be brought to a very quick conclusion. Meghan and Harry can start to behave. Well, that's not going to happen. So I don't see why the royal family is the only part of the family structure that should be allowed to defend itself, number one. And number two, I find it particularly anomalous that people want the royal family to expose Meghan and Harry and want the royal family to deprive them of their platform, but then condemn the Markle family for doing precisely what they want the royal family to do. I'm afraid there is a lack of consistency there that is truly astonishing. Menaga Mannion says, Lady C, what are your thoughts on the council members of the County of York removing the honour from Prince Andrew? What are the repercussions of the act? Would Harry and Meghan meet with the same fate in the future? Thank you. Well, Harry and Meghan, insofar as I'm aware, were never given the freedom of the city of York or any other freedom of any other city. I think it is a total disgrace and absolutely shocking and a completely typical of politicians of all ilks, because most politicians, not all, there are decent politicians, but most politicians are sheep and they will follow without a conscience if they think it is in their political interest. Prince Andrew has committed no crime. He has been charged with no crime. Had he been charged with a crime, he would have had to have been found innocent, because Prince Andrew has committed no crime. Availing yourself of the services of a 17-year-old prostitute, irrespective of your age, is not a crime in this country. He committed no crime, aside from the fact that he has vigorously denied her accusations. But the politicians, the members of, and they are politicians, they're minor junior politicians, but they're politicians. And I'll tell you what happened. Somebody floated it as a good idea, and they've all like sheep followed behind the really rather unconscionable person who floated the idea, quite forgetting that in this country you are innocent until proven guilty. It is called witch hunting. They are witch hunters. They should all be sacked. And anybody who disagrees with me is entitled to do so, but I'm not budging on this, because I think that the whole thing stinks to high heaven. How dare they take advantage of the misfortune of an innocent man? It is a total outrage. And if they think he's guilty, they still don't have the right to do it, because he hasn't been found guilty of anything. While by her own account, his accuser has confessed to being guilty of being a procuress, a prostitute, a liar, and a perjurer. It is outrageous. And these are the people running York. Thank God I don't live in York. I think the whole thing is an absolute disgrace. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and please keep the questions coming in. This cannot be done without you. God bless and goodbye.